The Cold War by Zaida Rodriguez. How can these two countries, the United States and the Soviet Union, turn from allies in World War II to enemies? Enemies that caused a war that lasted from 1945 to 1985. A Cold War, which was the relationship that was developed primarily between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, which was a clash of very different beliefs and ideology between the two countries. The Cold War was to dominate international affairs for decades. For example, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was to show which of the two had the most powerful bomb. Also, in the late 1950s, the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, which was competition to influence not only nations around the world, but the space itself. Because of this, they both began to develop technology that will be used to explore space, or in other words, control space. So was this war inevitable? This war was basically caused from one of the main reasons was their belief. Each country had their own political system. The United States were capitalists and the Soviet Union were communists, complete opposite of each other. The United States and the Soviet Union's goals were to spread their ideas of their political systems all around Europe. For example, in July 1945, Truman pressed Stalin to permit free election in Eastern Europe. Stalin was reluctant to allow free elections in Eastern European nation, and to the United States, it was a clear violation of those countries' rights. Fear. Another cause of this war. Both countries feared any moves made by one another. Because of their bad relationship, the United States adopted a foreign policy called containment, which was directed at blocking Soviet influences and stopping the expansion of communism. Furthermore, the United States also created the Truman Doctrine, which was to give aid to any country that rejected communism. The U.S.-Soviet relations continued to worsen in 1946 and 1947. In 1947, the U.S. Secretary of State proposed an assistance program called the Marshall Plan, which would provide food, machinery, and other materials to rebuild Western Europe. In response to the United States, the Soviet Union responded by holding Western Berlin hostage. Because of what the Soviet Union did, it increased the Western Europe's fear of Soviet aggression. So in 1961, the East Germans built a wall to separate the East and West Berlin, which is called the Berlin Wall. As you can see, the Cold War was basically caused because of fear of each other and the clash of their political belief. So technically, the war would have been inevitable if they both accepted one another. But it isn't that easy. Both the United States and the Soviet Union wouldn't change their mind of one another. They were the superpowers in the time. They had their own political systems to adhere to. Even Stalin, in his speech of 1946, declared that communism and capitalism cannot exist in the same world.